Hi everyone, my name is Melissa Butcher. I am a professor in social and cultural geography here at Birkbeck, and it's my great pleasure to welcome to this podcast virtually, or to welcome to Birkbeck virtually, Priya Sen, who is the director of the film Yeh Freedom Life, which was screening as part of Arts Week. Welcome, Priya.
Hi, Melissa.
Priya, can we just start by asking, if I can just start by asking you a little bit about the film, Yeh Freedom Life, or translates as This Freedom Life. The location in Delhi, was there a particular reason why you chose that location, and how did you work with the people within those locations in order to create the film?
Okay, so this place is called Dakshin Puri. It's part of a larger sort of constituency of Ambedkar Nagar, which is a very sort of specific. It's largely working class. It's got it's quite diverse within that. Dakshin Puri itself is a resettlement colony, which has a whole genealogy that you might actually be familiar with in terms of Delhi, and the reason I actually film happened in Dakshin Puri is also because I have a very long relationship with the place. I worked there as part of a set of experimental labs that we ran through Sarai, which again I'm sure you're familiar with. But sort of like an Sarai was a program that we ran for a few years about just getting familiar, having the city open up through various research and other practices. And so because one of our labs is situated in Dakshin Puri, I knew Dakshin Puri since 2005 actually. And so when this film was actually commissioned to me, and I researched for many months, and then I was like, I'm just going to go back to this sort of sense of place, which usually is my starting point. And the film was supposed to sort of explore ways in which young women were thinking about, ideas of marriage and love, and were at a point in their lives where they had to make this decision. So I went to Dakshin Puri with a very sort of banal set of questions about this, and went to various places, and the beauty parlor was one of a few places that I'd been to, just looking to talk with young women, and that's when I met Sachi, and it kind of started from there.
So the characters that you're working with, like Sachi, like Sai, like Praveen, these are very complicated love stories in a way that you are exploring in the city, and that you are also situating yourself within. So how did you manage that process of working with the people in your film and inserting yourself into these complicated love stories?
Well, I mean, I was kind of going with the flow. I mean, it started at a certain point. I didn't really know where it was headed, but there was a certain sort of way in which I realized there was a certain sort of manner of being which I was interested in seeing and working with. Also, the idea of observation as practice, something I've been thinking about for a long time. What is it, what do cameras do when they are in these situations and these spaces, and not become this like fly on the wall, invisible entity, but sort of be part of how things sort of happen. So in that, I think there was it was something that took on a certain, it became something while, in the beauty parlor, and also in Praveen's shop and in Praveen's home. So I think it was quite easy. And, the questions of sort of these boundaries of observed and observer and, subject and all of that were, I think, things that I decided to be a little more flexible with and a little more fluid with. And so it wasn't that I was constantly inserting myself into these conversations, but there was also a dynamic that built up between us, like an ease, which took a little, it actually was quite immediate. We had a connection very easily. Uh, which I think is also to do with the fact that spaces like the beauty parlor are, on the one hand, they're not private spaces, they're not public, but they're intimate, and they allow for many things to happen, including a camera and two people who are like there for as much scrutiny as anyone else, really. So I think that was it was a really good vibe, like right from the start. As you know, and the film actually started quite early. It's very chronological, so things happen as you see it. So after the first sequence, so me actually like putting myself in there was somehow naturally came into this kind of form. Uh, with Praveen, it was slightly different because the shop had its very sort of its own natural boundaries about like what would happen there, who the people were. Every night it would be something else. It was a little more edgy. There were fights. There were the police who were there and who things could turn very easily. And I think in all of this it was the fact that every situation was quite precarious and it could turn. Like the. So we were so just handling that and how to film in a situation like that was interesting, extremely what's the word I was really on a lot of the time. There was uncle I had my cinematographer friend who was shooting mainly in the parlor, but sometimes at the shop and in Praveen's home it was just me and him. So there was a lot going on there, and so I think our dynamic sort of enabled the form to like emerge. Yeah.
It's interesting that your background is in experimental film, and you were saying that this is your first feature work, feature name. And I'm also seeing in Bollywood, in commercial cinema now, greater, more, I guess, more in-depth explorations of these questions of love, and sexuality, and gender relations. So even very commercial films like we've seen in recent years, like Queen, like Piku, even Gully Boy, even though the protagonist was male, it had some interesting reflections on gender dynamics, gender relations, and all of these films. You're seeing this sort of focus in cinema, exploring these questions of independence and freedom within gender relations and sexuality. So I wondered if you feel that this is a wider, that film and is reflecting a wider shift in Indian society.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm very happy to have it be sort of in this tide that is turning, and God knows what's going on. Given the fact that we are also going backwards into some other retrograde place, I'm not really sure what's actually going to happen to all of this. But I'm very glad that it's part of sort of this, like you're including it in this sort of like larger sort of frame of cinema, which is something that I'm actually very interested in exploring. This idea of one's form being a little more egalitarian, but also it's fine. With fiction work, you see much more of it, but with non-fiction work, it's documentary over here is still quite rooted in sort of social documentary practices, and this idea and funding remains from development sources, etc., including for this film. We got lucky with the funders. So I'm not sure how much freedom there really is in the form itself with documentary, but I just decided that I was going to just go with it. And it's also because the stakes are not very high as far as documentary is concerned over here. At least it's not like there's distribution, and it's not like there are huge sort of ways in which the project will fail. So I think that sort of adds to the sense of being able to play and that's what I do usually. And I mean, but I was surprised that, well, not really surprised. I was hoping that this film would actually be seen a lot more, and it has been. Um, having said that, it's not a commercial venture at all. So I can actually do what I want in many ways, and then see whether it fits um, a sort of whether audiences actually like it. And it's been actually very interesting to see that it has been screened in various situations, including in festivals and all that, and people have been very open to this and to this form. Actually, it feels like fiction. Um, was what I was told a lot of the time. But yeah, sure. In terms of actually opening up stories of love and gender, and I mean, that wasn't necessarily my what I started out with in terms of like actually having um, this sort of take on gender and sexuality. No, not at all. Like for me, the questions were much more about how do you actually find language for this kind of love, which is which is just uncertain and full of uh, and it's ready to tip, and it's ready to morph and change, and there's this precariousness about all of it. And so it was much more about that somehow. um, and of course the gender it's all implicit. So that's the way I was looking at it, really.
It's interesting you mentioned the uncertainty of it, and I was wondering where Sai and Sachi and Praveen are now. Are they okay? I know Delhi's in lockdown as we are here in the UK. So where are they at with their relationships as well?
Oh yeah. So, I mean, a lot has happened after the film. Very quickly, Sai and Sachi are still together, and Sai has left the other girl, and but they continue in their sort of anxious state. Sai is still working because she works at a hospital, but she works as a security person at the hospital. Sachi has taken over the parlor from Neha, who has actually been the one to leave with another man. So so Sachi now runs the parlor, except the parlor's closed. Um, she's okay for now. We're in constant touch. We've been in touch right through. We've been in touch ever since I met them. Like Praveen and I. Praveen is we're very close now, much more than when while we were filming, because Praveen had, we're also very involved in what happened with him, which is basically that his girlfriend, who was the person you see at the end of the film, actually left her family and sort of left home and her grown-up children to be with Praveen. And you can't just do that. You can't do that here without it becoming sort of extremely complicated police case and all of it, which we went through with actually uh, the situation getting quite dire. And we had to finally go to the court and get an order from the court to say that, Pushpa could stay with whoever she wanted because she was an adult. Uh, and of course, in all of this, the 377, Article 377 that had criminalized homosexuality um, was read down, and finally everyone decriminalized, and there was a lot of drama that happened. But as a result, yeah, Praveen and Pushpa are now together with constant threats from the family saying that we will, the children coming and being like, not right now during the lockdown, but right before, saying that, oh, we're going to like end our lives if you don't come back. So the drama continues, but the nice thing is that they're together, which is like huge. They're still in the house with Catty. And yeah, I just saw them. I saw them like literally 4 days ago. Uh, so I mean, I could go on and on about how things have happened since the film, but yeah, I think very briefly, this is what happened.
Well, I think that's one of the really beautiful things about the film. It does, as I mentioned before, capture these really complicated love stories, but they are love stories, and that is something, I guess, to hang on to even in times which are very uncertain. So Priya,
Yes.
thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, thanks, Melissa. It was really lovely to talk to you.
And to you. Take care.
Yes, okay.